Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we take your source material, cut through the noise, and really pull out those key pieces of knowledge. Think of us as your shortcut to getting up to speed, maybe with a few interesting facts along the way. Today, we're digging into a really interesting set of sources all about the D-CLS-ST-A-00 exam. Now, I know exam prep might sound specific, but wait. These practice questions, they're actually fantastic for understanding Dell troubleshooting. So maybe you are prepping, or you're just curious about Dell stuff, or maybe you just like those aha moments. This deep dive, it's for you.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, the context is an exam, sure, but the things we're covering, they're fundamental. It's the kind of practical knowledge anyone working with Dell hardware or even just a curious user really needs. It shows how, these small diagnostic steps can actually reveal quite a bit about how these systems tick.
Right. So the sources mention the exam basics, about 60 minutes, multiple choice, multiple response questions. Passing score isn't public, but maybe around 80%. It's in English. And you get a Credly badge. Okay, so let's get into it and see what nuggets of wisdom these questions have for you. All right, scenario one, you've got a Dell laptop, won't power on, you know the AC adapter is good, like definitely working. What's the very next thing you check?
Okay, this is a classic, the immediate next step. Check if the power button itself is, physically stuck or damaged.
Seems almost too simple, right?
Well, yeah, but it's logical. If that button isn't working, nothing else really matters, does it? Doesn't matter how good the power supply is if the on switch is jammed. It's that physical check first. It's so true. It's that reminder, isn't it? Before you start thinking complex circuits, check the obvious physical thing. It could save you so much time. So the key insight for you, laptop won't turn on. Check that power button first. Okay, moving from physical checks to diagnostics. Let's say the system won't boot the OS. Which Dell tool runs those pre-boot diagnostics, especially things like memory tests?
That would be Dell EPSA. That stands for Enhanced Pre-Boot System Assessment.
EPSA, got it.
Yeah, it's a diagnostic tool built right into the system firmware. So it runs before the operating system, like Windows, even tries to load. And that's crucial because it lets you test core hardware, memory, motherboard components, stuff like that, separate from any OS issues.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting then. This tool lets you find hardware problems even if Windows is completely dead.
Exactly. Think about it. If your RAM is bad or there's a motherboard issue, Windows might not boot at all. You can't run software diagnostics then. But EPSA runs beforehand. It can flag that failing RAM module before you waste time trying to fix Windows. So it isolates the problem, the takeaway for you. Need to test hardware before Windows starts. Dell EPSA is the tool.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a sound that nobody wants to hear. A Dell desktop making weird clicking noises coming from the hard drive. What's the immediate action?
Oof. Yeah, clicking from a hard drive, that's almost always a sign of mechanical failure inside. Like the moving parts are hitting something they shouldn't. So the immediate action in this context is really to replace the drive.
Replace it, not back it up first.
Well, ideally you'd back up before it starts clicking, but once it is clicking, continued use is super risky. You could lose everything. So the question focusing on immediate action points towards stopping the potential damage and replacing it.
Okay, so that clicking is serious. Raises an important point for you about data loss, right?
Definitely.
Key takeaway. Here, clicking from the hard drive. Assume it's failing and needs replacement, like now. Shifting gears to security.tpm, trusted platform module. Where do you actually turn that on or off on a Dell commercial laptop? Is it software?
Nope, not software. TPM is a hardware security chip. So you manage it in the system's BIOS or UEFI firmware settings. That's the low-level stuff that runs before the main OS. You won't find the switch in Windows or some app. It's deeper than that. What's interesting here is that hardware-software boundary, core security settings are often in the firmware.
Right, like it's part of the foundation, not the decoration. Okay, so for you, remember, TPM settings are found in the BIOS UEFI. Let's tackle networking. Ethernet port, cables plugged in, it's seated right, but the little link light, it's off. What's the most likely reason?
If that light's off, it usually points to a physical layer problem. So most likely culprits are a faulty Ethernet cable, or maybe the port hardware itself is bad.
Not things like IP conflicts or firewalls?
Typically not for the link light itself. Those software or configuration issues like IP conflicts, missing drivers, firewall blocks, they usually happen after a physical link is established. That light is just saying, hey, I see another active device physically connected. If it's off, the physical connection itself is probably broken.
Okay. Practical tip for you then. Network seems dead. Check that physical connection first. Look at the lights. Try a different cable, maybe a different port if you can. Key insight. Link light off usually means bad cable or bad port. Simple as that. Here's a really common one. Dell laptop keeps dropping the Wi-Fi connection. Drives you crazy, right? What's the very first troubleshooting step?
Yeah, that's super annoying. The first thing you should always try is updating the wireless network driver.
The driver, really?
Absolutely. Outdated drivers, corrupted drivers, even sometimes the generic ones Windows installs. They are a very, very common cause of flaky Wi-Fi, constant disconnects, slow speeds, all that stuff.
Huh. It's often that simple, isn't it?
It often is. And it's easy to do. Before you start thinking about replacing the Wi-Fi card or blaming your router, just update that driver.
Good reminder. So what does this mean for you? Drivers are often the unsung heroes. Or villains, right? Key point. Wi-Fi dropping frequently. Update those drivers first. Yeah, imagine you just got a new Dell system. Shiny and new. You want to move all your stuff, your profile, your settings, your files from your old Windows PC. What tool helps you do that easily?
For migrating user profiles and settings on Windows systems, the go-to tool supported by Dell is Windows Easy Transfer.
Windows Easy Transfer.
Yep. It's a Microsoft utility designed specifically for this. Helps you package up your user accounts, data, settings, that kind of thing, and move it over to the new machine. Makes the transition much smoother.
Sounds like a lifesaver for you when you're upgrading. Avoids that whole manual setup headache. So the takeaway, use Windows Easy Transfer to move your digital life to a new PC. Data security is huge. Let's say you're getting rid of an old Dell system, selling it, donating it, recycling it. How do you make sure your data is securely erased, not just deleted?
Right, this is critical. Just deleting files or even formatting the drive, that's not enough. Not even close, really.
Why not?
Because those actions often just remove the pointers, the index to the data. The actual data bits can still be sitting on the drive, recoverable with special software. So the recommended method is using a proper data wiping tool. Dell has its own Dell Data Wipe utility, often built into the BIOS, or you can use other certified third-party wiping software. These tools actually overwrite the entire drive, usually multiple times, with random data. That makes the original data truly irrecoverable.
Super important for you and your privacy, right? Protecting your personal info. It's not just hitting delete. Key knowledge point. Need to securely erase data. Use a dedicated tool like Dell Data Wipe or certified software. Don't just format. Okay, another black screen issue. This time the Dell laptop does power on. You hear the fan spin up, maybe see keyboard lights, but the screen, totally black. What's the first check?
Right, so power is definitely on, but no image on the built-in display. The very first thing to check is connect an external monitor.
Why an external monitor?
Because it helps you immediately isolate the problem. If you get video output on the external monitor, you know the laptop's graphics chip and motherboard are likely okay. The problem is probably with the laptop's own screen or maybe the cable connecting it. If the external monitor also stays black, then the issue is likely more fundamental, maybe the graphics processor itself or the motherboard's video circuitry. It's a quick way to narrow it down significantly.
That's great practical troubleshooting for you. Quick diagnostic step.
Right.
So the takeaway, screen black, but laptop has power.
Yeah.
Test with an external monitor first. And finally, let's circle back to that TPM chip. We know where to enable it now in the BIOS, but what's its main job? What does it actually do for security in Dell systems?
Good question to wrap up on. The primary function of the TPM chip is providing hardware-based security features. Think encryption and secure boot. It acts like a secure vault right on the motherboard. It can generate and store cryptographic keys securely within the chip itself, making them much harder to steal than if they were just stored in software on the hard drive. This hardware-level security underpins features like BitLocker drive encryption and secure boot, which helps ensure only trusted operating system code loads when the system starts. It protects against tampering.
So it's really about building security at the hardware level, making the whole system more robust against attacks, the core knowledge point for you. TPM helps with encryption and system security, providing a hardware root of trust.
It's not just exam fodder. It really builds a foundational understanding of how hardware and software interact, or sometimes fail to interact properly. And what's fascinating is how universal a lot of these principles are. Checking physical connections first, that applies everywhere in tech.
Yeah, it really does. This deep dive showed that sometimes the best solutions are getting the basics right, and also knowing about those specific tools, like for secure data wiping, when you need them. So something for you to think about. Technology gets more complex all the time, right? But why do so many basic troubleshooting steps still come down to checking physical things or simple software like drivers? What does that tell us about maybe the lasting importance of understanding the actual physical bits of our devices, even as everything moves towards software in the cloud? We hope this deep dive gave you some fresh perspectives and maybe some useful tips.